A very warm welcome to all. Today, I, Reeya Khanna, a legal intern under LEXIS and Company, am here to explain my topic, codification of the international law. Let us understand what does codification mean first. Codification of international law refers to the precise formulation and systemization of rules of international law on the subjects that have already been extensively covered by state practice, precedent, and doctrine. Codification means a systematic statement of the whole or part of the law in written form. History of codification. Initially, it was only customs which regulated the conduct or relations of the states. However, those customs often lacked precision and were vague, which made it difficult for the courts to apply them. To ensure uniformity and remove uncertainties, a need was felt to codify the international law, which was largely based on the customs. The idea of codification of international law was conceived by Jeremy Bentham in 1789. Thereafter, certain private endeavors rather than governmental actions were taken to codify the international law. Like an attempt was made by the French Convention to draw up a Declaration of the Rights of Nations in 1792. Same way, Professor Francis Lieber of Columbia University Law School, New York, attempted to codify the laws of the war. Now, let's talk about certain codifications. First is Paris Declaration of 1856. It was the first major attempt to codify the international law of the sea. Three principles were enunciated by the declaration. Number one is privateering, which means a ship privately owned and crewed but authorized by a government during wartime to attack and capture enemy vessels would no longer be considered legal. Second, a neutral flag would protect the goods of an enemy, except for contraband of war. Neutral goods, with the exception of contraband of war, would not be liable to capture when under the enemy's flag. And third, a blockade would be binding only if it prevented access to the coast of the enemy. The second, the second codification that we're going to talk about is the first Hague Peace Conference of 1899. The Hague Peace Conference was convened from 18th May to 29th July 1899, where 26 nations took part. Three major conventions were adopted at the conference. Number one, Convention for Peaceful Settlement of International Disputes. Number two, Convention with respect to laws and customs of war on land. And number three, Convention concerning to naval warfare. The third codification is the Second Hague Peace Conference of 1907. The Second Hague Peace Conference was convened from 15 June to 18 October 1907, where 44 nations took place. 13 conventions related to warfare and neutrality in war on land and sea, the status of enemy merchant man at the outbreak of war, bombardment by naval forces, etc., were adopted at the conference. Further, a naval conference was held in 1909 at London to draw up an agreement of list of contraband goods. The agreement reached was incorporated in a declaration known as the Declaration of London 1909. The Third Peace Conference was scheduled at Hague in 1915 due to the commencement of First World War. However, when the war actually broke down, the provisions laid down in most of these conventions did not stand strong in front of the new instruments of warfare. Codification under the League of Nations. So after the World War ended, First World War ended, League of Nations was established on 10th Jan 1920, under which the work of codification received a great momentum. The League appointed a committee of 16 jurists in 1924 to report the council's subjects which were ripe for codification. The committee submitted its report in April 1927, wherein it stated that 7 topics were ripe for codification. Now, those topics were number 1, nationality, number 2, territorial waters, number 3, state responsibility for damage done in their territory to persons or property of foreigners. Number 4, diplomatic immunities and privileges. Number 5, procedure of international conferences and procedure for the conclusion and drafting of treaties. Number 6, exploitation of the products of sea. And number 7, piracy. So that is all for today's video. We shall be continuing this topic, codification of international laws, in the next video. Thank you so much.